Okay, so a solution to the DC epidemic in Dead by Daylight and Go Next culture. I'm very curious. I'm very curious because DCing has been a problem for forever with Dead by Daylight, right? And it's like a problem that's never went away. Yeah, you get like punished by getting banned for a little bit, but that doesn't seem to really stop anybody, does it? So I'm very curious. I'm very curious. Let's give it a like. Let's watch it. It's kind of loud, isn't it? Not loud. Yeah, people giving up on hooks like one of the biggest problems in the game right now. Next problem too.
Nobody likes quitters, and definitely not griefers. Dead by Daylight currently is in a really bad state. People going next, disconnecting repeatedly, and even being slugged for 4 minutes on end.
Bro, I've had people like in my comment section like openly admitting like, oh, I went to do this, you know, is this killer or this survivor? And like I wasn't feeling it, so I disconnected. It's like I'm not talking like crap about those people, right? Like if you're not having fun with a video game, leave, whatever. But like, man, that if you're like regardless of which side you are, whether you're a killer or a survivor, that ruins the experience for like everybody else in the game. If you're a killer and you disconnect, well, the fucking game's over, right? If you're a survivor and you disconnecting on like a solo, well, you're screwing like the rest of your team, bro. It's so much harder for like a 3-man to win at the start of a match compared to a 4-man. I think that's ridiculous, bro. I think that's ridiculous. Like, you should at least have some type of like, even if you're not having fun, have like the decency to stick it out for the rest of the players in the game, right?
To bleed out or get humped at the very end. This sucks. Thankfully, we're not alone. A lot of people have been talking about this, including myself. I've gathered some ideas from other creators, including my own, in an effort to make Dead by Daylight a better place for both survivors and killers. Here is my suggestions on how behavior could address these issues.
Lay it on me, big boy.
Let's start first with the self-unhook mechanic. Currently, self-unhooks are used more or less as a way to bypass the DC penalty. This makes solo queue survivor feel absolutely miserable because someone will go down and then immediately give up on hook because they got outplayed or because they don't like the killer they played against. There's a lot of reasons why someone might do this, but let's face it, most of the time it's because they just suck at the game and they don't want to get better. That's why the self-unhook mechanic is being reworked rather drastically into an actual core gameplay function rather than just a way.
Okay. Survivors can no longer self-unhook by default. Once all survivors are dead, currently hooked, or in the dying state, any hooked survivor in the first hook stage can attempt to self-unhook with a 10% success rate. Perks that currently allow you to self-unhook, such as deliverance, will still function as they currently do. Okay. Okay.
Way to go next. Survivors can no longer self-unhook by default. Once all survivors are dead, currently hooked, or in the dying state, any hooked survivor in the first hook stage can now attempt a self-unhook with a 10% success rate. Currently, the self-unhook chance is 4%. Perks that currently allow you to self-unhook, such as deliverance, will still function as they currently do. This new feature makes it so that self-unhooks are a natural progression of the game. They're a last chance mechanic rather than a go next mechanic, and ultimately now serve a more useful purpose to survivors. Now let's talk about slugging. I can't take credit for this idea. Instead, this is actually ripped directly from Scott Jund, but this is the push limits mechanic. If you haven't heard about it, it works pretty simply. Survivors in the dying state can now use the run button to crawl significantly faster, at the cost of draining their bleed out at a faster rate. Not only does this mean that if you're being intentionally slugged, you can die faster, but you can also now crawl to a pallet a little bit quicker, potentially having someone save you with a pallet save, or crawl into the open, allowing the survivor nearby to blind the killer and get a flashlight save. There's an actual in-game purpose to this mechanic, and it's not just a I hold shift because I want to die quicker. It's a I hold shift at the cost of dying quicker but getting somewhere faster. It's, well, a sprint button for crawling.
Yeah.
Maybe developers could use the exact numbers of a perk like Tenacity or even higher. Either way, I think this is a brilliant idea and should 100% be implemented. Finally, let's take a look at the disconnect system and what I propose towards it. The disconnect penalty now always lasts for 3 minutes, regardless of how many times you have disconnected. Instead of it scaling from 1 minute to 5, then 10,
this has
15,
been a good idea
and even
forever.
longer, upwards of several days, it now caps out at 3 minutes. In fact, it's always 3 minutes. Repeatedly disconnecting within a 7-day period results in the player being placed into a bad sport queue. Players in the bad sport queue are paired up with and against other players who repeatedly disconnect from matches. Players are removed from the bad sport queue after either successfully completing a match from start to finish or waiting 24 hours. If a player disconnects again after being removed from the bad sport queue within 24 hours, they will be immediately and automatically replaced into this bad sport queue. I know this video is pretty short.
I would like to go one step further with that one. I feel like that's too lenient, right? Fantastic idea. It's been talked about for years, right? Like, this should absolutely be something that behavior is like actively working on implementing and improving. I think this is a really good idea. I think this is a fantastic idea. Disconnect, let the ban be for 3 minutes. That's fine. You want to fuck around and find out, fuck around and find out. Repeated disconnects within a 7-day period. I say we bring that down to I like the number 3, a 3-day period. If you have repeated disconnects within a 3-day period, you're placed into the bad sports queue, which is just a really good idea for like gaming in general, online gaming in general. People who get banned for racist comments, bad comments in the chat, because I know like some games will unban you, but like BMing, being rude, like your mom's a whore, you know, shit like that. All of them, in-game chat included, reports confirmed, reports there, right? Placed into a bag sport queue. Right here, players are removed from the bag sport queue after either successfully completing a match from start to finish or waiting 24 hours. I think you should have to finish, again, I like the number 3 to 5 matches. You have to complete from start to finish 3 to 5 matches of the specific role that you quit as repeatedly in that 3-day period, right? So if you disconnect as killer 6 times within a 3-day period, you're placed into the bag sport queue. Survivor, you're not. You're not placed into that because of your killer, right? So you have to complete 3 to 5 matches, and maybe it goes up the more you get put in the bag sport queue, right? Maybe it goes up if you get placed in there like 3 to 5 times. It starts going up by like 3 matches, 2 to 3 matches. So like you have to complete 3 to 5 matches as that specific role from start to finish before you get out of that queue, or you have to wait the exact day period of the disconnect range, right, to be placed into it. So if you don't want to complete, 3 to 5 matches as that role within that period, then you have to wait 3 days, 3 full 72 hours, 3 full days before you get taken out of the queue, right? And again, that's a good idea. If you disconnect again within that 3-day period, maybe that can be a 24-hour period. I like to be harsh when it comes to this stuff to like get it to fucking stop, right? So maybe that could be a 24-hour period. I like the 3-day period. Be harsh, come down with a hammer, right? So maybe like if you can like disconnect from another game within 3 days, you're out. You're done.
Placed into this bad sport queue. I know this video is pretty short, but I don't think it needs to be any longer. Behavior, there are really easy solutions to this problem.
Really easy.
You just need to think a little bit harder. And for those who currently do go next and repeatedly DC because you don't like the killer or you don't like that you got outplayed, you don't like the map, blah blah blah. Sincerely, I hope the system gets implemented and you play a different game entirely, because you just make everything miserable for everyone.
Yep.
Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.
For real. I made a comment about it in my the FNAF update video a couple of days ago, a few days ago at this point. I think Behavior are really, really good at designing chapters, staying faithful to classic horror franchises, like overall like design when it comes to new killers, new survivors, perks, all that shit. They're really good with that, but they are some of the worst developers I've ever experienced when it comes to balancing their game and implementing gameplay features and like system features to stop a toxic thing from happening, right? They're some of the worst, dude. They really are some of the worst in current gaming at like implementing features to stop toxic play styles, to stop toxic events from happening, like disconnecting, slugging, all that shit. They're terrible at it. I think this was a fantastic video. I would be a little bit more strict when it came to that last thing. I think that's way too lenient. Like, they need to come down with a hammer. And I only say that, like, if it wasn't that bad, or if it was just now becoming a problem, I wouldn't say come down with a hammer. But, like, people have been abusing that shit for years at this point, dude. Fucking years. And they just tee I'm gonna do my own thing, you know, like, I'm gonna keep doing it. Fuck you. Fuck everybody else. Fuck everybody I play with. So I think come down with a hammer and surprise the shit out of those people. I say don't even announce it, bro. Don't even say that you're implementing it. And then just let people experience it. Like, yeah, that's kind of like contradictory to what I just said about, like, you know, implementing these things. Like, you don't even let us know you implement it. But I still think that's a good idea. Like, don't even tell people. Just do it. Just add it. One day they get on, they go up against a nurse, or they get put on a really good killer map, or you know, the killer gets on, immediately goes up to what they know is a survival with friends as soon as they get in the game, and somebody played a fucking Eerie of Crows map, and they disconnect, and then they keep doing it, and they keep doing it, and they hit like 5 disconnects or something like that within like 3 days, bro. And they're just into it. They see that bag sports queue pop up, right? Just do it to them. Just do it to them. I really think they should. I raised my eyebrow when Faithful and Killer mentioned with Freddy existing. Look, listen, he's the exception. He's the exception. Everything else is pretty cool. But yeah, behavior really need to do something about this. And I think this video is like, they have the luxury of having videos like this that exist, right? Where people from the community put their time and effort in, right? To making a video like this that literally spells out what they can do. And it's a fantastic idea. It would fix the problem. And it doesn't have any extra padding bullshit. It's just a solution to their problem. And they're like, nah, we can do better in like 5 years.